What is going on, everybody? We're back once again with another edition of Wrestling Republic's daily broadcast. It is Thursday, January the 23rd. We're fresh off of Dynamite. We are in full Rumble season, I guess now. We're merely a week and a couple days away. We're mostly going to be talking about Dynamite today, and I'm actually stoked to get into it. I've got a wicked crew with me. Happy Thursday, everybody. First and foremost, though, I'm going to keep this one in the continental United States. Send it straight to Philadelphia for our head of opinions, Anthony Ricciardi. What's going on today, my friend? How'd you like Dynamite last night?
How you guys doing? No, this is always fun to do. My old stomping grounds of Thursday. It was an interesting show. I think it started out very hot, and obviously we're going to get into it. I had some issues with it here and there, but we'll have fun with that. Let's get into it.
Absolutely, and I will say, Anthony, if anyone ever questions how great we are at production on this show, we just allowed Soul, our next co-host I'm going to introduce, to migrate like geese in the early winter. He's moved spots. I saw the whole thing, Soul, but it's good to have you, host of the Soul Sessions. What's going on, boss?
Cool. Yeah, fine as always. Another day, another dollar, ready to get going. I do have to put it out there for the viewers and you guys. There is a weather warning in the UK, and we've been getting like alerts on our phones and other devices. So if you hear a big ping or I cut out, it's just the government trying to tell me what to do. So besides that, nonetheless, I'm good.
I love that. Well, heck, by the way, it's probably that same snowstorm that hit the East Coast last week, right? Just headed to you guys.
I still got ice out there.
Made its way across the pond, no doubt about it. But let's talk about Dynamite last night. An interesting Dynamite. Our first topic here, we've got Omega and Ospreay.
Mm-hmm.
Former rivals, kind of still rivals. This is a bit of a can they coexist? I don't hate it.
Mm-hmm.
I thought it could have been given a little bit more time last night.
Mm-hmm.
That's my only opinion I'm going to give. I would have liked to just see a second longer of explanation from each. Just a little bit more of things hanging in the balance before we sort of got the initial payoff and follow up. Anthony, I'm going to start with you on this one, though. Looks like, we've got what? O squared? Is that what we're going to call them? The O2 Arena? Ospreay and Omega together as one. It looked like last night. Can they coexist, I guess, is what I'm going to go with, Anthony.
Yeah, 00 without the 7, yeah. But yeah,
wow, that's good.
just figuring I'd go with that. No, but like it's one of those things that, on a side note, it doesn't really make much sense to me that Omega's an EVP, but he doesn't apparently care about the Moxley takeover. Like that's a side note. But these two, this is the whole enemy of my enemy type scenario where Ospreay and Omega obviously are rivals. Especially in Dave Meltzer's heart, who's going to get this 12-star match but between the two. But I like that because they threw it down of going, hey, we still are rivals, but we both have a problem with Don Callis. So we are going to feud with Don Callis, which I'm okay with if that's the direction you're going to go. If you're not going to get them involved with Moxley's nonsense, at least there's some type of feud to care about. I've always loved the fighting around the arena thing. I've always been a sucker for that in wrestling as a whole. I've always loved the look of that. I did think it was kind of odd that no one was around the merch stand, that they beat people up. Like there should have been fans that have scattered out of the way or security holding them back or whatever. I thought that should have been done. And I did love the shot of them climbing up the pillar and, calling out Don and I did crack up at Omega's line of going, all right, I'm going to get down now. I don't like heights, which is kind of funny because he's jumped from stuff before. And so is Ospreay. So it is just kind of funny when, they come out and going, yeah, I really don't like heights. Makes them more relatable, to be honest. But I liked it. And I kind of like where the direction they're going to go with this. I don't know what the payoff's ultimately going to be because Don's entire stable is people that need to be built up. But I can't imagine they're going to win against 00 without 7. I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, by the way, I'm thinking we call him 002. I like 00 without 7, but they're the 002, right? Like it makes sense. They're a different agency. I don't know. I agree with basically everything you kind of said there, but I do like the idea of this is kind of a unique opportunity
You
to
you
allow
could
them to
call
wrestle.
them 007 Star, because that would be Dave's old stopping grounds. But then again,
007 star.
but they could probably only be called that in Japan, because that seems to be his go-to.
And do you
Not.
think that would affect Kobe's ratings of them?
No, I mean, listen, Kobe has his favorites, but I think that would be reserved for LA Knight probably.
You never know. You never know. But obviously, we can't move on without asking you, Soul, what your thoughts were on this. You've got whatever we want to call them, 002, Omega and Ospreay, two of the absolute best to lace up a pair of boots in the business right this second, fighting alongside each other. Not something I had on my bingo card for the year, but I ain't mad about it. I want to get your thoughts on last night and the future when it comes to this rivalry with the Callis family.
I mean, if I had to call them anything, I would call them the cerebral machines. You know, Osprey's the cerebral assassin. Kenny Omega's the best belt machine. Cerebral machine is what I would go with. But I don't think they need a name. I don't think this is going to be a long-standing tag team. I pretty much agree with everything Anthony said. I think he hit the nail on the head with this whole segment. I didn't think the timing of it was too long or too much. I thought it was perfect for what it was. I do like the shot of them up the pillar. I do like the two moonsaults. Generally, I am very happy with the segment. I thought it was just great to see Omega in a ring again. And with the history that he and Ospreay have, obviously with Forbidden Door and AEW, the New Japan stuff, United Empire and Bullet Club, two fantastic stables. There's so much history there. Obviously, Grand Slam is going to be Fletcher and Takeshita versus Omega and Ospreay, which is just going to be an exceptional match to see. You Aussies are getting your truly luck with that match. Congratulations. Also, like, where do you go after that? I genuinely would like it to see this is the done part of Don Callis' family's association with Omega and Ospreay. I think for the actual Don Callis family, in our next segment, I think the Murder Machines, which is Lance and Brian, are going to.
And it looks like the government took down Saul.
Did you freeze there? They got him this time.
They took him out.
I'm not 100% sure what was gonna happen next, but as soon as we get Soul back, we'll get Soul back. I would imagine he's actually frozen, because if he was staying in that spot for this long, I'd think he'd be turning red and suffocating by now. He has joined on a different device, it appears. Yes. Anyway,
yeah, that was the government setting another weather warning. For God's sake, I've had 4. I get it. There's a storm. You don't have to keep telling me.
Yeah, the guy was rolling. Give him a break.
Yeah. Look, I'm excited for this. It'll be a fun match. Whoop-de-doo. The flow has been disturbed because the government doesn't want to keep telling me that there's a storm coming. For God's sake, look. Yeah, this will be fun. Good match. Don Callis family afterwards. I think it's going to be the Murder Machines against the Hurt Syndicate in the future, because I think the Hurt Syndicate are going face, judging on the events. But besides that, I'm happy to just see Omega and Ospreay in the ring again.
100%. And one thing I will add, though, when it comes to the Omega Ospreay thing and like the temporary pairing, and this is something I thought of last night, and I think it's before your time, Soul. But Anthony will understand this reference
because we're ancient.
But do you remember the Michael Jordan Mia Hamm? Anything you can do, I can do better. Gatorade commercial.
Oh my God! Yeah, now it's ringing a bell. Yeah,
something like that between Omega and Ospreay as they team together. The anything you can do, I can do better.
That was around the same time of the Mike period.
They're doing the same. Yeah. Right, Michael Jordan's kicking a soccer ball as well as Mia Hamm, but then she's shooting the basketball as well as Michael Jordan in the commercial. It was a really fun commercial for the time.
Do you remember?
Gatorade. It was a Gatorade.
It was Gatorade.
Ad. It was a Gatorade ad. And it was right during when the U.S. won the Women's World Cup.
Okay,
and Jordan was sort of at his peak. It's an iconic commercial. It really is.
Yeah. I know what you're talking about.
And something like that. I'm not saying like play the song and make a highlight tape, but that dynamic is what Omega and Ospreay reminds me of, right? Mm-hmm. And I like sort of the idea of the enemy, right? We have common enemies. So we're sort of forced into this.
Yeah.
But like, if there's still a level of one-upsmanship,
I mean, listen, we just recently saw that with Roman and Cody pairing
little,
up
yeah.
just to take on the bloodline, but obviously the rivalry's still there. So I'm completely fine with it. I think it adds an element of realism of going, hey,
Yeah.
we have a mutual enemy here. Let's work together to take them out.
Yeah, we're smart enough to team up right now,
Yes.
but also there's still that competitive edge.
Yeah, when this is over,
yeah.
the truce is over.
I'm gonna continue to try to outdo you,
Mhm.
even while I've got your back,
Mhm.
right? Like,
Yep.
and we talked about the moonsaults and whatnot, but like, right? You see a big spot, and then the other one tries to top it.
Yes.
That sort of dynamic is really enticing to me with Kenny and Ospreay, because I don't know if I can name two wrestlers that are more equipped to execute that type of a story, right?
Under the same umbrella, no, probably not.
Yeah, that's just difficult, and they also can match each other as far as move for move in a unique way. Even at Kenny's age, they can do most of the same stuff. Obviously, Ospreay being younger is probably a little bit faster, but Kenny can do the majority of the things that Will can do.
Yes.
And right, and that to me is a cool dynamic when it comes to like this relationship and this sort of pivot, I guess, from what you would expect. Obviously, we mentioned earlier the lack of he's an EVP, and the Death Riders are running roughshod across the company. We're going to talk about them at the end of the show, though, so we'll get into that later. Right now, let's just keep it rolling here, because we have new tag team champions.
Yeah,
and I am pretty much the king complainer when it comes to tag team wrestling here at WR. Have been for a long time.
I'm probably number 2.
Because I love tag team wrestling. That's why I want it to be valued more. When it comes to this one, I feel really bad for Private Party. I think they deserved their moment. They got their moment. But it now feels even more like it was just about the moment in the first place. And not about the title reign, and not about elevating them. The Hurt Syndicate win relatively dominantly. I mean, Lashley cuts Isaiah Cassidy in half with the spear. It's a heck of a victory. But I do, monster shout out to Private Party. That's one of my favorite teams. Anthony, though, I want to get your thoughts on this in the future of the tag division in AEW. One thing I will say that's a positive: we put belts on the Hurt Syndicate right away. That was necessary. That was important to keep the steam rolling. And that is why I do think it was the right decision last night. Does that mean it doesn't make me sad for Private Party? No. But two things can be true at once. And so I'm all good with that. But I got to get your thoughts on the entire thing and the tag division as a whole here, man.
I think that's been a problem throughout wrestling and for the past couple of years, regardless of promotion, is that there come situations where people get titles and the whole momentum is the person getting the title and to get that moment. And the moment happens, and then it's almost like booking goes, all right, I don't know what to do now. And I feel like Private Party kind of suffered from that, where they got their moment finally, long overdue, but it didn't come off like a real meaningful reign. It came off as, well, we don't know what to do with this, so we're just going to transition to the bigger name team, because obviously, Shelton and Lashley obviously have a bigger name recognition than they do. I don't know where they go from here. AEW's tag division is struggling as a whole, which a lot of tag divisions are. The only two that seem somewhat feasible are the SmackDown one and NXT in a way because of Fraxium. So if you're using the Hurt Syndicate to build prestige back into these titles and to try to rebuild that division, for them to drop them to a long-term team, because I'm assuming I don't see the Hurt Syndicate staying in the tag division for super long. I can't imagine you're going to have Lashley and not put him for singles titles sooner rather than later. But I think it was the right move because they really weren't doing much with Private Party, and it just wasn't working. The same thing happened when they did it with the Acclaimed too. They finally gave them the belts, and then they're like, I don't know what we do with this. It's happened with Hangman. It happened with Swerve for a while when he won the world title too, where it was like, all right, again, it seems to be a progressive problem that they have, is that they'll get them to the point, and then they're like, what do we do to keep the momentum? And that's a
Keep 'em
problem
there.
throughout wrestling. Mariah May, it was the big, we're going to give her the moment. We're going to take the title and give it to her. I got to be honest, her title reign has not really meant much as a whole. It feels like
kind of true.
So, I mean, I don't say these things to bury AEW, but it's a pattern that I'm seeing constantly where they'll give somebody a title and they're like, what do we do now? I mean, WWE had the problem with LA Knight when they gave him the US title.
Same
it's
thing.
not just
it's not exclusive to AEW.
No, and I'm not saying that. But
it's a
since
great
we're talking
point.
about AEW, I'm just talking about
There's
specifically
truth
AEW.
to it. I mean, Jey Uso even had a bit of the problem with the IC title.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of one of those things with Jey Uso. I think it's one of those things. The momentum is behind him, where people, I think, want more. I think they want him to have a world title reign. It's kind of one of those things where they're like, yeah, it's great, the Intercontinental, but we want more. I mean, you see the crowd reaction with that, and I know I'm not trying to get
that's
into
where it's interesting, though. It's like
into that. Yeah,
it does seem like it's not like a curse fully, right? It's not like the Cubs or the Red Sox.
Yeah.
But there is recently, even as far as Cody Rhodes, you're going to hear whispers about these title reigns, and it's happened to almost everyone. It's happened to a lot of big names lately. One of the few that pseudo dodged it was Roman Reigns, because he carried it for so long. Well, you just stopped questioning it.
The funny part is, you look at Gunther as a perfect example, and I don't mean to get into WWE because we're talking about this, but you look at it. There was no question during his Intercontinental title reign,
and they're all now.
But they are now with the world title reign, which is kind of wild, because it shouldn't be, because he's a dominant champ. It's believable. I mean, the longest reigning, so it shouldn't be a problem. But in a weird way, there is. And you look at Mercedes, another perfect example. They gave her all these belts, but I don't think they have any clear idea of who's going to take these belts off of her. They're just giving her more belts.
It's very, very, very true. And so, because we have a little extra time on this segment too, I want to get your thoughts on the same thing when it comes to this. I mean, not only the tag match like we already talked about, but sort of the conversation that we're having right now when it comes to how do we get champions to not be immediately viewed as who are they going to drop it to next, to be viewed as the champion and make it feel like more of a shock. Because I feel like that's part of what's missing. It doesn't feel shocking when titles change hands the way it used to. And it's not AEW exclusive, like Anthony said. It's happening across the industry right now. It's wild. Some of the best matches, in my eyes, and rivalries don't involve titles because there's something about, like, there's something amiss right now. Do you have anything for that?
So, quickly touching upon Hurt Syndicate, I think them having the belts business-wise is the right move, because they're over. You don't put, like, people have given Tony Khan flack in the past for the All Out 22 match, which was Swerve in Our Glory versus the Acclaim, where the Acclaim were clearly over and they didn't make the call to put the belts on the Acclaim. They waited until I think 2 weeks or 3 weeks later at the Grand Slam show. This was the pull the trigger moment. Does it suck for Private Party? Yes, I like Private Party. I like the match they had against Action Andretti and Leo Rush on Collision, and the 4-way tag at Full Gear. But when a team is deniably over, and even in that match where the Hurt Syndicate are meant to be heels, they were getting cheered, and the "We Hurt People" chant is over. I think it's the right move. I would have them go face, in my opinion. I think that's what I would do, but whether that's what they end up doing is a decision. But obviously, Private Party can win it in the future, and I don't think they're done, because obviously Mark Briscoe comes out and comforts them. So I think there are plans for them in the future. But your discussion on champions not having like that drive or people to see them as that, and then they falter out when they go after the chase. Not to plug my own stuff, but like, I have an interview coming out with a former world champion, and we discussed this kind of thing, that more people remember moments than actual matches, right?
Yeah.
Everyone remembers the moment of Cody defeating Roman. I remember the moment of Hangman defeating Kenny. We remember the moments of the game, but after that, it's where you go from here. It's like in a fairy tale, right? This is kind of like, you remember the story of Hansel and Gretel, but what happens afterwards when the story's finished? Right. What happens in Red Riding Hood after they defeat the big bad wolf? That's kind of what especially baby faces are, because you go for the story of them getting the moment, and this is like the epilogue. Some epilogues are good, some epilogues aren't. I feel like, especially with wrestling fans, we always get hyped up on the fresh new toy. Whether it's a signee for any other company, we always get fascinated on that. We want to see them succeed, but when they stay around too long, we want the next new toy to have a fascination about.
I do think that's very true. That's
Mhm.
very true. The shiny new toy. Yeah.
Historically, it's always been about having a heel champion and the babyface chasing, which we saw obviously with Cody and Roman. I think a lot of eyes are going to be on TNA now because this past Sunday they pulled the trigger and gave Joe Hendry their world title.
Yes,
so the question
is,
does he suffer the fate that a lot of champions have been facing this year, or is he able to break that curse?
If people stop waving their hands, I will say this when it comes to the Joe Hendry one specifically, and then we really do have to talk about our friends sponsorship wise. But Joe Hendry, if people stop waving during his entrance, I'll be stunned. I do think of all of the baby faces that have won a title lately, I'll be just shocked. It's too fun to do. He figured out all of that part of the equation in a way that people haven't in a long time.
I'll quickly say, I think the one thing Hendry actually has above others is they've kind of set up their epilogue with Kazarian with the trophy thing. So they kind of got that wee bit of setup there. Obviously, they need to have opponents like, I'm sure, Brian Myers or System or any other teams in TNA will do that, but it'll be hard, and I hope they do it well.
I couldn't agree more. But speaking of people that do it well, let's talk about Progress Wrestling, because if you haven't checked out Demand Progress Plus yet, it is off the charts. One of the best tape libraries out there. And not only that, the product gets better and better every single chapter. Use code WatchProgress1, and we're going to give you 50% off your first month on Demand Progress Plus, the home of Progress, Defy, and many more promotions. One more time on that code, that's WatchProgress1. That's 50% half off for those of you who prefer fractions on your first month of Demand Progress Plus. Check it out. We're also going to keep it rolling here. No matter what kind of phone you got, open it up, head over to the App Store, whether it's Google Play or the App Store, doesn't matter. Download the Itsy app. You'll see that very logo right here on the screen. If you're an audio listener, I apologize, you can't see the logo, but it's ITSY, Itsy. Head to the upcoming streams section. Nothing really on tap right this second, but I'm sure Rumble weekend coming up, we will have something for you. It's a brand new app. It's awesome. And not only that, if you join our live streams, you have the opportunity to hash out some arguments with people like me, Ben Allison, all kinds of content creators. It is really a fun time and an immersive experience. Check it out. Download that Itsy app in the App Store or Google Play Store, and you will enjoy it, I assure you. But speaking of things we enjoyed, I don't know how much everybody else enjoyed Hater and Hart. I did think this was a fun thing. And here's really why. I love Logic. Logic makes me happy often. Jamie Hayter grabbing the mic and being like, it's 1-1, here's a rubber match. You don't have to tell a broader story than that. We're both super competitive. We both think we're better than each other. It's tied. Let's settle it in a rubber match. Thank you so much. The bell-to-bell action, I thought they could have been given more time. I think both are very talented. I think there's a little bit of unfairness in how much time this match got in relation to some other matches on the card. I'm not over the top, upset about it, but I did think, Jamie Hayter, speaking of people that were over, it is not that long ago that she outshined Dr. Britt Baker on this very product, standing next to her week in and week out, and was in the main event title picture for a time. Jamie Hayter was. She's returned, and I don't understand it. She's been shuffled in the middle of the deck outside of this Julia Hart storyline, in my eyes. And it was nice to see the confidence and nice to see the victory. So, as our resident AEW expert, though, on this one, talk to me about Jamie, talk to me about Julia, and what it means for the women's division. I really did like this rivalry, and I saw some criticism online about it, and it bugged me. Because I'm like, no, I actually think they're telling a good story here. Oh, Sorry.
Not every story has to be, you know, The Godfather. Some stories can be the same caliber as Jersey Shores. They don't have to be cinematic epics. This is just a simple story. I beat you one, you beat me one. Let's have a trilogy. Do I think Tony Khan's going to put the trilogy conclusion match on Revolution? No, it's probably going to be on a Collision or a Dynamite the week before. The thing about Jamie Hayter is obviously she's been away for a long time. She dropped the title in 2022, and she's been gone until the back end of 2024. And you know, as we talked about, you know, new shiny toys have emerged. She's still popular in some sense, but more women have came in, done more, and been just as over or more than her since that time. So it's always just, you know, wrestling is a very moment-driven industry. You need the right time to become a world champion or to get over with the fans, become a merch machine. Because if you don't take that moment, it can never happen again. But you know what? I want to switch it around. I'm pulling the handbrake. I'm diverting here. I want to talk about Harley Cameron. I want Harley Cameron
Yes.
to win the TBS championship at Grand Slam Australia. Now, people are going to be like, why? Why? One, she's organically risen to be very popular. She's very comedic. She's got a music ability about her. She's able to sing her own theme. She's got multiple talented skills. She's also a ventriloquist that she likes to say. She is just fun. Like, I feel like that's the thing, as I've said multiple times on AEW, it's so serious. Like, you know, the Bucks are running the company, or Don Callis' family are driving screwdrivers in people's heads. Moxley's holding the championship hostage and talking about how he wants to build it in his vision. And then I just find myself more entertained to Harley Cameron just laughing and making innuendos. And yeah, like Mercedes Moné, she's got so much on her plate. Like, I feel like why not alleviate one responsibility off that plate with AEW and become the AEW Women's Ambassador internationally with the Rev Pro and the New Japan Strong Championships. So yeah, after the, you know, putting the titles in the Hurt Syndicate, I'm 100%, I'm for, and I want Harley Cameron to become TBS champion at Grand Slam Australia.
I am in 100% agreement. And here's why. There's a list of names that I could name when it comes to AEW recently in the women's division specifically. Tony Storm being one, Harley Cameron being another. And I'll actually add Mariah May to the list too. Doesn't get enough credit despite what is being said about her current run. The character work that's happening, Willow Nightingale in her run last year as well. I want to add to that list to make sure that she's in there. The character work that's happening in the AEW women's division is underrated. It's really, really good. And we're delivering unique characters in relation to what we're seeing in other products. And I want it to be capitalized upon. To your point, Harley Cameron is the perfect time to strike while the iron is hot. So that is a great name, and it makes sense in Australia. She's a ventriloquist, like you said. Bring out the hand puppet if you have to. I mean, come on. It makes sense. She's entertaining every single time she's on the screen. She really is. Whether you hate her or love her, whether it's cringe or funny to you, you're not flipping off the segment with Harley Cameron. And I think that's something that's important to note. So for sure. Let's move on though to our main event here. Let's talk about the Death Riders, because I've been really positive about today's show, but okay. Adam Copeland, the artist formerly known as Edge, versus Pac is a fun match. It's really good on paper. I enjoyed it. I didn't really have a problem with the match. You know, I heard some complaints and whatnot. I need direction from the Death Riders. I'm done guessing. What is their end game? What's the point? Why are they doing this? Why do they hate everybody? Why is it? Just give me a why. I understand the hows, the numbers advantage. I understand all of that. The where, Dynamite and Collision, right? I get the how, I get the where, I get the who, I know the people. I arguably I know the when. Every time one of them's involved in a match. I need a why. Help me out with a why. And yes, it's another great beatdown, but we've seen a bunch. Want to know why? they've somehow been able to give us the rest of the equation, but as soon as it gets to why, we don't have an answer. Like I understand the aesthetic of the belts in the briefcase because he's mad at AEW or he's mad about what's going on in AEW, but why? Who's he really mad at? Because he's not just mad at, it's not just Moxley that's mad at everybody, and he's using his goons to take them all out. He's mad at somebody specifically. There has to be an end game here somewhere. And storytelling wise, you've built enough of a base layer to really advance this one. It's the most obvious complaint about AEW is the storytelling part of it. That's what you hear week in and week out. And I disagree at times because I do think there are properly and well-told stories inside of AEW's creative lexicon over the last few years. But this is your main event jewel and arguably the face of your company with Jon Moxley. It's time to give us the why. Give us one more nugget direction-wise before somebody else gets beat up again. And I don't mind the beatdowns because they're good at it. And it's logical. They have the numbers advantage, so they beat people up. I get it. They take out Cope and Jay White. But I feel like a broken record now. I need a why. So help me. What's a why? Give me a why.
Well, to my sense, the why is, if you go back to the promo that was recorded after All Out 2024, where obviously Jon Moxley wins Wrestle Dream, where Moxley wins the title. He records the thing on the back of the truck that he hates what AEW has become, and that's the main reason why he is the way he is now. This is the way he has that perception. At the end of the day, sometimes people are just evil for being evil. Sometimes they'll just do what they can because they have a negative viewpoint on the world. Sometimes some stories don't give us the why, and it's that mystery thing in the background. I think the main reason why the Death Rider story isn't resonating with a lot of people is obviously because we just had the whole elite, the elite takeover thing of the whole summer of 2024. Even if it didn't involve the main title picture, it was one of the more frequently showed stories within AEW that year, and this is similar. I don't know if you could view it as the same kind of level as the elite one. Some will say, yeah, because it involves the world title picture. The other one involves mostly the tag, the Continental, and the TNT. It's just the way it is. Like I've said before, AEW needs a face world champion that can hold the belt for a long time, and that one is obviously Osprey, Omega, or Darby. Because the world champion scene has been so negative and so, bad, stroppy, I'm unhappy for so long. Honestly, since MJF, it's odd. The world title picture, I still view the AEW World Championship as pristine, as a valuable championship because of the people that have held it, from obviously Jericho, Moxley, Hangman. Like people with high have held this belt. It's not like David Arquette of the WCW or
No, I agree.
It's just how I just become something along with AEW, and obviously the whole viewership of it online is negative. Obviously, Tony Khan doesn't help himself sometimes when he does stuff related to contract situations and gives it a negative viewpoint. So when obviously the whole main big picture of the company is on a negative connotations, there will be a less driven aspect to it. That's probably why out of all this, the most enjoyable stuff for people might have been Omega and Osprey or the Hurt Syndicate, because the Hurt Syndicate people got what they wanted, and Omega and Osprey are good faces that people enjoy seeing. I definitely do think, obviously, with these two individuals here, Jay White will be Grand Slam Australia, Cope will be Revolution. After that, it should be Double or Nothing and Dynasty. Where do you go from there? It will be interesting. Obviously, I fought Darby Allin at All in Texas, but there is a part of me that thinks, should Death Riders and Moxley hold the World Championship for another 6 months? And to that answer is, I genuinely don't know.
Okay, I hear you there. Here's what I would say solution-wise, because I've been thinking about this for a long time. this is the perfect opportunity to take advantage of something that AEW has not in a long time. And that is a lot of people like to do the, ooh, I'm jumping on the cool side. And I think they need to flip their ethos towards attacking the hardcore AEW fans that have stuck with the product. And you need to find a way to get that audience to not hate you just because you are being handed it, but to really be frustrated. And I think the way to do it is you got to do something related to the WWE again here.
No,
and you gotta sit there you gotta say, this is why we're no.
Clark.
I think this is why you're attacking Copeland. This is why you're attacking FTR. This is why you're doing all of this.
No, brother,
and
I love
bother those people.
No, come on. We've had that. We've had that with Cody on the chair. We've had that with Kingston calling out the Dynamite.
Can I go?
Go.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Go
ahead.
Here's the thing. This is the second storyline that they have done in the past year with a takeover, but it failed the same reason the other one did. There wasn't genuine stakes. The other one started out hot. They took out Tony Khan. It sort of felt like a takeover. There has been no takeover. There's been no authority figure. We are months in, and we're still as clueless on what Moxley is exactly taking over. Because we know Tony Khan's sitting back there. We know all this. He's making matches. None of this makes any sense. And here's the thing. They can't attack the AEW hardcores because that's all they got left at the moment. The ratings and attendance are not what they were a year ago or 2 years ago. So they can't do that. This is an angle that at this point, I don't think anybody cares about. So at this point, you almost got to kill this thing because they're not going to get to All In, quite frankly, to wait for Darby. Because if this is dragged out another 5 months and we have no clue what the hell's going on with it, it ain't going to work. You're going to lose more of the audience at this point. The Edge part of this, because I will never call him Cope, just an FYI. This was a thing that, like, okay, you had your match with Pac. Then they kind of fell off the rails. You're showing me footage of FTR being duct taped. So we're supposed to believe that these two guys, who were supposed to be tough fighters, got easily taken out by a few people. And then you have the Rock and Roll Express knocked out anyway. And then you have them come out through the crowd. Now, here's my problem with this. Edge has a free pass to go right up that ramp to go check on his friends or to get out of Dodge. And he stays there. Why? That wasn't a logical move. The logical move was, okay, you show the footage. And then maybe two members of the Death Riders are coming down the ramp and the other two are coming from the crowd and they surround them. Or, here's an idea, where you have the Death Riders coming out. Edge is in the ring waiting because he knows his buddies are going to come to help him because they hit the music. But it's not him. It's not the music. It's, what's his name? Marina Shafir in the control booth hitting the music or forcing the controller to hit the music to trick Edge. It made no sense. He's going to stand there and wait for them to kick his you know what. Like, it made no sense. Like, that's my problem with AEW. They don't do logical things. These are simple little small things that would have made this at least somewhat palatable from a storyline that, quite frankly, sucks and has not gotten any better and has only gotten worse as the weeks go by. I'm being honest.
No, I hear you. I don't think it's great either. The problem is I do think there's solutions here. I still think you got to go after the WWE thing. And
that's what they're constantly getting accused of. It's not.
I totally disagree on why would you not?
That's stupid.
Why would you not?
Okay, because it's
stupid. It's bother a lot of people. They'll pay more attention.
No, they won't. They'll hate the product anymore. No, they won't. No, they won't.
I'll tell you what.
That's stupid.
Half the WWE audience that left AEW over the last year and a half
come back.
did it because the morbid curiosity's gone.
They're not going to go
No,
over
Not the
there.
cool kids on the block anymore. That's what happened.
WWE is the coolest
It's not gonna
product. WWE is the best product currently for wrestling in the
You said
world right now.
coolest.
Yeah, and the coolest. They're on Netflix. They're in millions of people's homes. Why would you push up when they're just going to flatten you down even harder? If you make
WWE respond, that's not them flattening you.
If I in my interview show went and insulted Chris Van Vliet, it's like, oh, I'm actually the best interviewer here. I'm not going to get more viewers. I'm going to get more people that tell me I'm a dafty. Like that's
No, I'll say it,
doesn't
though. I'm
work.
better than Ben Fleet.
It only makes sense if you had a working agreement like WWE has with TNA, where you could take the shot where there's opens the possibility you're going to get dream matches. You're not getting that with AEW and WWE.
I'm talking about taking the shot not at the current WWE product. I'm talking about the ex-WWE people in the company. Would make sense.
Why?
So was he. So was Moxley. So was Claudio.
Right, but he
Pac.
can then tell the story of why he left.
Marinas too.
They
Wheeler's
all
the
are.
only one that's not.
Yeah,
And
but like here's the thing. This is on the same caliber of Eric Bischoff calling out Vince McMahon for a boxing match on Nitro. It's never gonna happen. Why?
But that did do
It was
good
a
rating.
pay-per-view, technically.
It's stupid. You wouldn't. Why would you give your audience the speculation of something can happen, and you're never gonna have any payoff for it? You'll insult them. They won't come back and watch because you're not gonna give them something they can get.
I said something that I didn't say. I'm saying the ex-WWE people that aren't a part of the Death Riders because they're all ex-WWE and they're scorned by the WWE, directly attacking multiple ex-WWE people. I get Darby's not. But
neither was Orange.
That's their problem.
But all you do is
it gives you direction for the group. That's all I'm saying.
All you do is you remind the AEW audience, hey, there's the popular wrestling company, there's the biggest one. Go watch their stuff. Go watch all these guys in the archive.
By the way, like just sitting and cowering and being like, no, we're not going to poke the bear. Like that's silly too.
And it hasn't helped them. It hasn't helped them when they've poked.
What do you mean?
It hasn't.
The initial jabs are what started the tribalism
in 2019,
thing.
Not
this is
2025.
That's not that long ago.
Yes, it's
For
long
them
ago.
it
I was
is.
still in university when that
not
happened.
that long. So
For them, it is.
Yeah.
I get if it's a quarter of your life, but it's really not that long.
Here's like things when the throne happened with Cody or Kingston calling out and saying on the other channel and stuff like that. That's when AEW was able to sell out arenas. They're now going to lesser buildings. You can't do that now. You can't do that. And now. It will never work right now. And AEW needs to understand that
you
they have their place in the market.
People that are in the building.
You need to get them to care about AEW. You don't have to lean on WWE to do it.
Honestly, we could have this argument the rest of the day, and it's all good. But I will say that brings us to the end of the show. You guys are both absolutely wrong, but thank you so much for tuning in. I will talk to everybody soon on behalf of everyone here at WR. We thank you so much for tuning in, and thumbs up and smash that like and subscribe if you haven't already. It means a lot. We'll be back same time, same place tomorrow. That's noon Pacific, 3 o'clock in the East, 8 o'clock in the UK, and of course 9 a.m. for my friends in Hawaii. On behalf of me, Clark, Soul, and Anthony, and everyone here, have an excellent Thursday, and we will talk to y'all soon.